Hi, it's John Kelly. In this module, we are going to discuss litigation and claims, or more commonly known as the legal letter. And as always, we want to be efficient and effective, follow professional standards, and document what we have done properly. Now, this area is one of the most often misunderstood because sending out a legal letter is not required. It is not a requirement. And it's expensive to do, and it's often inefficient to do. So we need to be really careful that we, first of all, follow professional standards, and second, not waste our time and the client's money on sending out unnecessary legal letters. So what is required? 3 things, actually. First, talk to your client and maybe others in the client and maybe in-house counsel if there is any. And second, review the minutes of the board, which we're going to do anyway, and maybe correspondence with legal counsel. And finally, what I think is probably the very best procedure is review legal expense accounts and then maybe look at backup. And that's the place that you're going to find out. Particularly, you're going to find out about a new legal case that's cropped up in the year, because you will see a bill from a new lawyer, and the bill will discuss the fact that there's this new legal case. Now I'll tell kind of an embarrassing story, but I had a rather large client some time ago, and every year at the beginning of the audit, we got busy and drafted up about 30 legal letters and shipped them all off at the beginning of the audit. And then, of course, the first thing that happened was we then started to wait at the end of the audit for these all to show up, and some were late, and it delayed the audit. The second thing that happened was the client's in-house counsel kind of came to me one day and said, "Look, John, you're sending out 30 of these letters, and they charge us $300 a letter." And I kind of said in my head, well, $300 is not a lot of money. And then I multiplied 30 times 300 and went, oh, yeah, I get the point. And then the in-house counsel said to me, and you know what? If you'd read these letters, if you'd looked at the response said, we haven't dealt with these people in a couple or 3 years, and why are you sending this to us? Because we haven't dealt with them in 5 years. But we're quite happy to send a bill for $300 because we weren't that busy. And he said, you're sending a lot of letters to a lot of people that we're not dealing with anymore. And furthermore, there are a couple of people that we are now dealing with that are dealing with some important new matters, and you didn't bother sending letters to them. So I think it'd be a really good idea if you came and talked to me first, and between the two of us, we'll put our heads together and I'll show you stuff, and then you can decide whether or not what I'm telling you is sufficient and appropriate, or whether or not you need to communicate specifically with an external lawyer. And I thought about that, and I went and read the standard again and went, oh yeah, I don't have to do that. It's not automatic. And then I sort of thought, and these procedures that are now specified, those are 3 really good procedures to help you find out who you should send a legal letter to, if anyone. So if those procedures indicate a risk of material misstatement, then you would send a letter, and the form of the letter is specified. So we just need to remember that this can be expensive for both the client. It was very expensive for my client. I was able to save them a bunch of money. And it's also expensive in auditor time. It took us a bunch of time to do it. A couple of days of staff time drafting up all these letters, getting them typed, getting somebody at the client to sign them, sending them out, and then keeping track of which ones had come in and following up the ones that hadn't. And when we suddenly realized that almost all of the letters were a waste of our time and the client's money, it was quite wonderful to stop doing it. The other thing, of course, it can hold up issuing the financial statements, because you got one lawyer that you haven't dealt with in 10 years who hasn't got around to replying, and you're waiting for the reply. So following the procedures in 501(9) is a much better idea, and they do not require the sending of a legal letter automatically in all circumstances, only if there's an identified risk of material misstatement. So, thanks for listening.